Hello, welcome. Today we'll be analyzing one of the comments made by one of Nigerian pastor who was present at a conference in Abuja. The conference was tagged Koza Conference. I'll start playing the video but I will come in between to explain some of the comments he made recently.
It is written here, if you obey and serve God, you will prosper. You will prosper. You will prosper. So poverty is a sign of ungodliness. To be poor means there is sin.
So this is pastors a conference and an evening session held in 2025. Here, this pastor was seen quoting from the book of Job. In that book of Job, chapter 36, verse 11, it states, if they obey and serve him, they shall spend their days in prosperity and their years in pleasure. I'm reading King James Version. So this is the verse he has hold on to and said, I will play it again so that we hear for the second time.
It is written here, if you obey and serve God, you will prosper. You will prosper. You will prosper. So poverty is a sign of ungodliness. It means there is sin in your life.
So he means that every poor man you see on the street today is a sinful person. There is a sin in his life. That's what practically this man has deducted from this verse of Job 36 verse 11. But that is how most preachers in Nigeria do, because that is what the people want to hear. The people have itching ear. Because they have itching ear, he is always righteous. They are always righteous when they pick verses without reading to understand what the scripture is saying. But before I go further, in verse 6 of that same chapter, he read verse 11 of chapter 36 of Job. Verse 6 said, he preserveth not the life of the wicked, but giveth right to the poor. Giveth right. That is what verse 6 is saying. Job 36 verse 6 is saying. He giveth, this is God giving right to the poor. Now, if you go further to verse 15, the Bible said in the book of Job 36 verse 15, it said, he delivereth the poor in his affliction and openeth their ears in oppression. He didn't quote that. So, I'll play this video for the last time, this session, then we'll move forward.
It is written here, if you obey and serve God, you will prosper. You will prosper. You will prosper. So poverty is a sign of ungodliness. To be poor means there is sin in your life. Unfortunately, people think it is those that are rich that have sin in their life. Never trust the holiness of a poor man. Listen, you can't carry girlfriend.
You see, he is trying to give a practical example of what is in existence in the society today, that you should not trust the poverty of a poor man. I mean, this is a way of diverting people who may wish to help the poor. They will begin to lose trust on people because they are poor. That is the teaching here. Meanwhile, the Bible was particular that God in himself delivereth the poor. Jesus fed multitude. Why will he feed them? Because they don't have. They've not eaten. In that state, if they are very rich, they would have come with everything they needed. But here we have prosperity teachers in Nigeria today. This is preaching, first of all, to be analytical. He has not demonstrated doctrine. The biblical doctrine has not been demonstrated here. What I see is somebody preaching on how to make it in life. And I thank God today for one thing. People have started taking that position. People that are not pastors here in Nigeria. Yes, how to make wealth. People have started taking that positions in Nigeria, and they are doing very well. You cannot obtain just this kind of teaching in church and believe that you've been saved. No. These teachings are everywhere. There are things that are peculiar to the church, which is salvation. Unfortunately, these prosperity preachers, I'm not against them preaching how to prosper. No. I'm not against that. There's a reason why I'm not against that. Because if you are fed, if you are the type of a Christian that believe only in your pastor, solely in your pastor, and you don't recognize any other teaching, then I would recommend that your pastor can bring in some level of prosperity and teach you genuinely how to work in the society and prosper in a progressive manner, not a cut and join attitude that have led many people into Yahoo, into fraudsters, into quick money, which is what is obtainable in the society today. Most of those people are, they are big givers. They are big capital investors in churches today, and nobody asks them how they make their wealth. Nobody asks that. It's also very difficult to ask somebody how he makes his wealth before he make contributions in the church. But your preaching determines how your member would have used to make their money. In fact, if your preaching is really true, your member who have made his money in a dubious way will not bring it to church, will not have the guts to bring it to church. But unfortunately today, because you have legalized evil, you have legalized Yahoo, you have legalized all manner of a short way of quick money, people feel very okay to bring this money to church to glorify their God. Unfortunately, you cannot preach prosperity properly if you don't read the scripture in understanding, not just by picking a verse. A verse. You can imagine just picking a verse. And unfortunately, most people who sit in the congregation, they don't go home, rehearse, and study what has been given to them to know if this man is worthy of listening afterwards. Because people are losing trust on men of God. The same thing happened in the UK, in Western world. People gradually lose trust. Gradually. They lost all the trust they have for men of God. Now in Nigeria, we are having such thing creeping in like a wildfire, like a cancer. eroding the actual fabric of salvation that's supposed to be preached in church. You know? But when you say that poverty is sin, is the same thing as sin, I wonder where you're getting your doctrine from. That is not what that scripture you read from is saying. I'll continue playing, then we'll discuss further.
The resources are not there. You can't go to Dubai and buy a house and keep a woman. You don't have the money.
You see it. So these are the things he pointed out. But I want to represent him fairly. Let it not be as if I'm into fallacy here. First of all, he said you can't go to Dubai, rent a house or buy a house, whatever it is, but a house, and keep a woman if you don't have the resources. Then you now use it to qualify a rich man who is righteous. I'll play it fully so that you listen. But let me say something so that we'll go back to it again. That when you put a woman in a house in Dubai, it's a sinful life. For sure. If you are doing it wrongly, maybe you have a wife or you are doing it wrongly. Now, he said that any rich man that is truly righteous is righteous indeed. But that is in contrast to a poor man. Poor man, you have no choice. That's what he said. That your state is synonymous to sin. In other words, any poor man you see on the road, you first of all don't trust him. And if you don't trust a poor man, how would you believe he's poor? How will you be able to give alms? How will you be able to support such individual? No, you would not. But you would rather have a distrust and believe that these are sinners. Discrimination comes in that these are sinners. Don't go close to them. You even deprive your children from, talking to such people because they are poor and wretched. Let's continue listening.
Anybody that has money and serve God is truly holy. If you want to know how humble, how godless somebody is, let them start having money. It is then you will know. There are some of you, your holiness is poverty imposed.
The same thing is applicable to a rich man. For someone who is very affluent in life, and all of a sudden, he is in a very difficult situation, that's when you assess him also. So change is a constant thing, and those change are what determines the steadfastness of a man. How was Job tempted? He was rich before, but he was made poor to be tempted. So you can also tempt a rich man to be poor, so that you not tempt him. So you can also tempt a poor man by making him rich.